Good morning, traders, and welcome to NewsWare's Trade Talk for Tuesday, December 16th. Okay, let's get into the action. Take a look at the S&Ps. We're flat. We're down 0.02%. We were down about 0.2%, but we pulled back, and now we actually went positive, and now we're flat to lower. It's really a direction. The market's waiting for a direction. That direction's going to come later this morning because the market's awaiting that non-farms payroll report, which is really expected to set the tone for the trading day ahead. Expectations are out there. It's very confusing because, it's 2 months. The data is suspect, but it is going to be the non-farms payroll report. And so it is going to create some volatility in the market once it's released. Also in political developments, President Trump, he took to social media last night in an apparent effort to influence the Supreme Court ahead of its upcoming decision related to the Trump tariffs. Remember, he used the IEEPA tariffs act, which really he can't do. And remember, tariffs can really only be set by Congress. So he kind of went around that. So the Supreme Court is likely going to nullify them. And he's really pushing it out there, trying to make it so this is more of an issue for the Supreme Court to consider, allowing him to continue his tariffs. He also indicated that a Russia-Ukraine peace deal may be close at hand. That's adding to the geopolitical headlines out there. What else do we have out there? In corporate news, Ford has taken a $9.5 billion write-down on its EV investments. Listen, regulation changes. It's a different environment than it was, a few years ago. So they're going to be moving to more, hybrids and continue with its gas-powered vehicles. On the earnings front, Linear, LEN, they're coming out after the bell tomorrow morning. JBL, GIS, and TTC are all scheduled to report, so that's all positive. Moving on to the European markets. Hey, the DAX is down. The DAX is down 91 points, or 0.37%. You're seeing weakness in aerospace, which makes sense, in defense stocks, which makes sense because if the Ukraine peace deal is reached, those stocks won't have as much revenue opportunities. The FTSE, the FTSE's getting hit. It's down 0.46%. Why? Because it's a very commodity-linked index, and with oil getting hit today, I'm not surprised to see the FTSE trading lower. In France, the CAC, it was higher. It's now down 0.07%. Tech stocks are weakening. Financial luxury stocks are kind of showing some positive momentum, though. Taking a look over at Asia last night, and Asia was just red. You had the Nikkei drop 1.56%. Led lower by tech and AI-related stocks. They got that BOJ meeting this week where they're going to be raising interest rates, so not surprised to see the market pull back ahead of that. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng finished lower by 1.54%. With weakness in property and technology and financial stocks. And in China, China was down 1.11%. It's really the ongoing economic headwinds. They had some really weak economic data that was released Monday night, so the sentiment is remaining bearish. And that's kind of reinforcing, an expected slowdown in the Chinese economy. Now we've got to turn our attention over to oil. And, oil's, down like 1.5% this morning. You got WTI at $55.90 a barrel. You got Brent at $59.68. It broke the $60 barrier. So, it's really, the move is being, driven by, renewed optimism surrounding a potential Russia-Ukraine peace agreement. And any deal that occurs is likely going to include a lifting of sanctions on Russia, which would potentially bring additional supply into the market, which is already oversupplied, which is going to put further downward pressure on oil prices. Oil market is very, very negative this morning. In terms of earnings, you got Linear after the bell today, ticker LEN. EPS is $2.33. Expected move is about 6%. On economic news, you get the non-farms payroll report coming out today. That's going to be the big one. That's coming out at 8:30. Remember, this is the data's for a bundled period for both October and November. listen, market is very cautious on this, and they're saying, well, we expect it to rise about 45,000 for the October-November number. They really don't know. It's really hard to gauge because, they didn't have all of the people working during the month of October and half of November, so it's pretty much a long shot as to whether what that number is going to be. But I'm seeing estimates of plus 45,000, which is sharply lower than the 97,000 that we got for September. Retail sales delayed is also due out at 8:30 this morning. 10 a.m. you get housing starts and building permits. That report is due out. Now we're moving on, and we're going to be taking a look at the markets and seeing what's happening. I'm looking at the FANG stocks first off, and they're all showing weakness except for Amazon, which is trading slightly higher, but everything else is lower. And the Dow was mixed. I got 12 lower, 2 unchanged, so 16 higher. Okay, yeah, makes sense. It's okay. In terms of news hidden behind the tape on Apple, the UK government wants Apple and Google to block specific images from the operating system level. Makes sense. Google, Google came out and said that they were testing putting real estate listings directly into searches, which, caused something like Zillow to fall down yesterday. But Zillow's bouncing back because really those fears of the impact are overblown. Meta Platforms earned $18 billion in annual ad sales from China last year. More than $3 billion that was linked to fraudulent ads, I'm told. And Dow Jones 30, Chevron continues to see weakness as the oil sector, continues to fall down on the possible Ukraine-Russia peace deal. You look at CVS, it's down 0.5% this morning, trading under 149. Nike on watch, NKE, Nancy Kilo Edward. Hey, earnings are out this week. Could be something there. But they did do a management change recently. And you don't do a management change if things are going good, so I'm cautious. I got to be cautious. In terms of guidance news, Pfizer backs their full year 2025 adjusted EPS view for $3 to $3.15. Street estimate has it at $3.13. That's not a stellar report, but I will say Pfizer's trading slightly higher this morning, which is good. Cisco having a shareholders meeting today. Paramount Global, they're a Peace Guy. They're also having a shareholders meeting today. What else we got? Pentair. They announced a $1 billion share repurchasing program late yesterday. That's ticker PNR. Paul Nancy Richard. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about our stock of the day, which is PYPL. Paul, Yellow, Paul, Larry, PayPal. Listen, after the bell yesterday, they announced plans to establish an industrial bank. And you look at yesterday's call volume, 53,000 versus put volume of 23,000, 2 to 1. Open interest, 1.3 million versus 651 million. Positive. Now, major brokers have been lowering price targets, but they're lowering price targets to like the $68 range, $67 range. Stock's trading 61. So it's underneath what they were anticipating. So I do think that can be viewed as a possible catalyst for the stock to rebound a little bit. But in terms of my entry price for PayPal this morning, I'm looking at like $60.70 to 61, somewhere around there. I want to get in under 61 if possible. Stock's trading above that range, but I'm holding out for a possible little bit of a sell-off to be able to catch some wind in this trade. Okay, let's move on into the story stocks that are moving the markets this morning in our hot off the press segment. Kraft Heinz CEO Carlos Abrams Rivera to exit the role on January 1. Ooh, they did that, the new CEO ahead of the split. Pfizer says it's on track to deliver $7.2 billion in cost savings. By 2026. Okay. Percent guesses that we're going to see a Fed chair announcement in early January. It's just a guess. Let's see. Scorpio tankers, Sting, STNG. They're selling 2 tankers and purchasing 2 new building tankers. And KTR, they're going to be unveiling their Phase 2 trial data today. Fourteen of the largest U.S. retail banks post jumps in income as they generated from overdraft and bounce check fees during the first 9 months of the year. NASDAQ is submitting plans to the SEC to roll out round-the-clock trading of stocks as it looks to capitalize on a global demand for U.S. equities. All right, that's all I'm seeing this morning. Okay, let's talk about our stock of the day from yesterday, see how we did, which was J-Bill, JBL, John Boy Larry. I mean, listen, look at the numbers. The stock opened up at 223.65. It fell down to 221.82. Now, I was talking 222 to 222.45, and then it rallied up to 224.87. So it did work out. It just wasn't a great trade because the market is really selling off a lot of these tech stocks. But J-Bill, just barely eked out that 1%, so it does go in the win column. It just wasn't a stellar win as we were hoping, but I think there could be some more positive action in the stock as it releases earnings tomorrow morning. So it's something to keep an eye on. Okay, traders, that concludes trade talk for today. You guys know what to do. Let's go out there and let's make some green.